I've gotten a lot of questions on the previous print by object video, so I thought I'd do a refresher and help answer some questions about when to use it, when to avoid it, and how we can tweak things so that we can benefit the most from this feature. I'm Dan, this is the Custom Corner, let's get started. Here I have two clicker tops. They're using the same colors, though they have different designs. You can also see there's a prime tower since there's going to be some color swaps between the white and red as it gets towards the top. Let's first check out how many color changes there are and how long it's going to take to print by themselves. So we have a few color changes and we have a model printing time of about 22 minutes. That's not bad. Now we can't have clicker tops without a base. So let's drag one onto the plate. Let's go ahead and do a preview now and see what's going on. Now we see that there's 41 filament changes and the model printing time shoots up to 1 hour and 46 minutes, almost 2 hours. That's no good. That's because it has to do a ton of changes between the blue and the white and red. And that's not something we want. So a way to get around this is to print each one of these things individually. So they're treated separately. So that the printer prints one fully, then goes on to the next, and finally to the last one. So how do we do that? Well, make sure we're in global here, and then we go to others, and we go here where it says print sequence, and we go to by object. Now the software will give us a little bit of a warning here. We still want to do this because we don't care about time lapse. Now, the big red warning here, big error here, saying basically everything is too close to each other, and it shows us the perimeter of each item. So what we have to do here is move them aside, and now they're no longer overlapping. Another way to do this is you hit this Arrange Objects on Current Plate button, and it knows that you're in by object mode, and it rearranges everything on its own. Now let's take a look at the preview here and see how long it'll take. Now we're going back to only 10 filament changes and only 42 minutes to print this. And that's kind of what we want. We want to be able to print each object individually and in their own colors without having to do any color changes between like the whites and the blue and the red and the blue. Now, you also noticed that the prime tower disappeared, and that's because we cannot use a prime tower when printing by object, because if you think about it, it wouldn't be able to do a red and a white, but then have a second object that has their own sets of colors and have a second prime tower. I suspect at some point Bambu should add this feature because it does make sense, because you don't want to, even when you're switching from one set of colors to another set of colors for the next object, you're going to have that that filament stay in the print head unless you do the purge correctly, which you can handle on your own here. So if you know you're going to be switching from, let's say, a white to a blue, you know you're going to get a lot of that white, or vice versa. You're going to get a lot of that color bleeding into the next, so you can always change that number here. Now, let's go back. Now, let's say we want to since we have two tops, we want to print two of these bases. So let's go ahead and clone it. Right now, we see once again we have the error that everything is too close to each other. Now it doesn't really matter. Like, we can move it aside and then that warning goes away, or the error. But the right way to handle this, especially if you have a lot of items on your plate. So let's say you had another one of these here, and suddenly you don't have room to move this one in here, right? And I mean, there's probably a way to rearrange these. It works. But imagine that there wasn't, and these things were like too close together, right? Let's go back to the way they were actually. Put them back here because it's easier to think about it that way. Now, what we want to do is we want to actually merge these two into one single object so that they get treated as one, since they're same color and same situation here with the two hearts, right? Because they're going to get printed the same. So we can actually select both of those, right click and hit merge. And now they're one object. Same thing here. Click on this one, click on the next one, holding down control, and we'll go merge. So now these two are one object. You can see how they're moving as one and the perimeter is on each one of them, right? So what we want to do, like theoretically, if we want to do it this the right way, let's go ahead and split these up again to objects. What we can do is put them as close together as we can, and then we merge them. So let's click on both, merge. Let's do this one, and we're going to go split. Where's the split? Here we go. To objects. Unfortunately, what happens here, and this is a good thing to know, is that all the pieces end up splitting out, right? So let's go ahead and put these together again, and then let's put these together again, and now they're two individual objects. So what you wanted to do, and I actually screwed these up because once you split them, the problem is that they go to the plate. So let's go ahead and split one up again just to show you. So what's happening is, like, let me move the top part out, which is this. And what happens is the objects get all placed on the bed. So they moved from being on top here to being on the bed. So let's go ahead and just delete all of these. Go do it from here. Delete, and delete that one as well. And let's work with this here. Oops. So we have 4 of them now. And again, if we were just doing this without the bases, it would be fine because we could do it by layer. Since we want to print these bases along with the tops, what we can do is we can select all of these. Oops. Select all of these here. Let me go over here. And these are the bases. Let me go over here. I'm going to select all of these. And this one. And we're going to go merge. So now they're treated as one object. Now, just move it out of the way. Now these are really 2 objects. So when we go to slice, only 6 color changes and a total of 56 minutes, and we're going to get all of these things printing together. These are going to get printed together. Then after they're done, these 2 are going to get printed as one object as well. Now, there was also a question about heights. So what you'd want to do is you want to print the tallest thing last. Because what's going to happen is, if you print the tallest thing first, there's a chance that the gantry will actually go, or the printhead will go and hit the taller object as it's printing the smaller object. So how do we guarantee that these go first and these go last, right? Because if you look at how it's going to print, it's printing these tall ones first, right? And then second, it's printing those short ones. But we want the opposite, right? That's simple. All we have to do is rearrange them to print second. And now, go ahead and slice again. And if you look, we'll start off with the shorter items and then end off with the taller items. Hope that makes sense. If you notice, there's a little pop-up here that says we suggest using auto arrange to avoid collisions when printing. That's kind of what we did manually, but there's an auto arrange button here as well, right? And that's the same thing as hitting the one that's on the plate right here. Now let's take a look at the Detailed View Wiki. Here you can find a lot of information on how this works, and particularly how to deal with taller items. Now, if you want to know what those limits are, you can hover over here where your printer is, and you go click on this Edit Preset button. And if you notice here, there's extruder clearance. And that's actually what the limits are for when your gantry or your rod will actually hit items when they're too close to the bar. These are not editable unless you override the actual preset. So if you create your own preset, you could override these, but for the default ones, you kind of these are kind of set for you. Another quick note, let's say you had another object that you were printing as well. And let's just go ahead and put these here. Let's do a rearrange so everything gets properly placed. Now let's say you're in the middle of a print and something screws up. So let's say these red stars start messing up and they're not printing correctly. Since they're the first ones to get printed, you might need to say, okay, now everything is going to mess up, so you might stop the print. However, since they are now all individual objects, what you could do is in the app, you can stop this from printing. You can skip it in the at least you can do it in the Handy app. So you can actually tell it to skip, and it will continue and print these two objects, and you'll have the successful print, and you'll need to reprint these separately, but you won't need to stop the whole print. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any more questions on this feature, and I'll answer them in a future video. Also, I haven't been able to post much due to some health issues that came up right after my last video, but I'll probably start posting more now since I just got laid off last week and I find myself with a lot more time on my hands now. I'll leave a link to the previous print by object video so you can get another look at the feature, and don't forget, like and subscribe and all that jazz. See you on the next one.